Welcome to Mimi Stories 256. Please like, subscribe, and comment. A like means support. Let's continue with our next chapter of The Price of Her Belonging. The little girl's eyes lit up when she saw them enter. Her face, though tired, glowed with gratitude. She clasped her hands together and made her small, practiced bow. "Good morning, madam. Good morning, sir. Good morning, little miss," she said in a sweet sing-song voice, her tone full of respect. Jenny raised an eyebrow, stifling a laugh but failing miserably. "Hey, why do you always do that? You don't need to bow and all that," she teased, her voice playful but loud enough to draw attention. Adoria's cheeks flushed as her hands fumbled nervously with the hem of her dress. My mother taught me to always bow to those who are older than me," she stammered, her voice barely audible. She glanced up at Jenny shyly, unsure if she was being mocked. Jenny grinned mischievously. "But I'm not older than you. In fact, you look older than me," she exclaimed, breaking into a loud chuckle. "Jenny," her father interjected, his sharp cough cutting her off mid-laugh. His eyes darted toward Adoria, who was visibly embarrassed, her head hanging low. Jenny rolled her eyes but waved her hand dismissively as if to say she'd stop. Adoria, trying to recover, managed a small smile. Jenny's father turned to the little girl with a softer tone. "So, how's your mother doing now, dear?" Adoria brightened a little, her voice gaining confidence. "She's doing much better, sir. Thanks to you and madam, the doctor says we'll be able to go home tomorrow." "That's wonderful news," Jenny's mother said warmly, her face lighting up with relief. She stepped closer, her voice gentle. "I'm so glad to hear that. You both have been so brave." Before anyone could add more, a faint groan sounded from the hospital bed. Adoria's ears perked up and she turned swiftly, rushing to her mother's side. "Mom!" she cried, grabbing her mother's hand tightly. "You're awake. Look, the kind people who helped us yesterday are here." The sick woman blinked slowly, her movements sluggish as she regained awareness. Her hand weakly covered her daughter's. "They're here?" she murmured, her voice hoarse. Her tired eyes moved to the family standing near the foot of the bed. She struggled to push herself up, but Jenny's mother rushed forward, gently pressing her back down. No, stay lying down," she said firmly, her tone maternal and caring. "You're still recovering. Please don't strain yourself." The woman hesitated but relented, her head sinking back into the pillows. Her voice, though weak, was full of sincerity. "Thank you. Thank you so much for what you did. Yesterday I was so scared for my little Rhea," she said, her eyes misting over. "She refused to leave the house and I didn't know what to do. Your kindness meant so much to us." Jenny, who had been quietly observing, suddenly burst into a giggle. "Oh my gosh," she said, shaking her head in amusement. "You both talk the same. Like a mother, like a daughter. Even your daughter kept saying the same thing about not leaving you yesterday." Adoria's mother smiled weakly, while Adoria herself looked away, her face red with embarrassment. But the tension in the room broke as everyone, Jenny's family, Adoria, and her mother, began to laugh. The sound of their laughter echoed in the small hospital room, filling it with warmth. For a brief moment, the worries and challenges of the past few days seemed to fade, replaced by a bond forged through compassion, kindness, and unexpected humor. Jenny, sensing she had perfectly warmed the room's atmosphere, decided it was time to strike while the pan was still hot. With a charming tilt of her head, she looked directly at Adoria and said, "By the way, my name is not Little Miss. My name is Jenny. What's yours?" Her curious, mischievous gaze bore into Adoria as she awaited an answer. "My name is Adoria," the little girl responded, her voice small but steady. Her face brightened as she added, "I'll be 9 years old in 7 months. My mom told me." There was a hint of pride in her tone, but also a childlike eagerness to connect. Jenny perked up instantly, her eyes widening with excitement. "I'm 9 years old too. My birthday was just last month. That makes me 8 months older than you," she declared, flashing a triumphant grin. "Which means I'm your elder." She crossed her arms playfully, her grin stretching wider, as though she'd just won some grand prize. Adoria nodded politely, her blue eyes sparkling, but her humble demeanor remained intact. "Nice to meet you, Jenny," she said, her voice as respectful as ever. Jenny's mischievous streak wasn't finished yet. She gestured toward her parents with dramatic flair and said, "And this is my dad and my mom." The man, tall and imposing with an undeniable air of authority, stepped forward and introduced himself. His deep voice resonated through the room, filled with charisma that demanded attention. My apologies for the late introductions, he said, offering a firm but polite nod to Adoria's mother. My name is George Bailey. This is my wife, Evelyn Bailey, and our daughter, Jenny. Adoria's mother, a frail yet dignified woman, quickly responded, her voice soft but warm. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Edith Brown, and this is my daughter, Adoria Brown. Thank you again, really. Thank you for everything you've done for us. She bowed her head slightly as she spoke, her gratitude evident in her posture. Before Edith could finish her sentence, Evelyn Bailey stepped in, waving her hand dismissively. Her voice was angelic, soothing, with an undertone of empathy that could calm even the most anxious heart. Oh, come on now, enough with the thank yous. We're just happy to help, she said with a gentle smile, her dark, silky hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall. Her eyes, deep and full of kindness, briefly lingered on Adoria, softening even further. Adoria's gaze shifted to George. His presence was almost overwhelming at first glance. With his tall stature, long jawline, and broad frame, he could seem intimidating to a stranger. But his gentle manners and a subtle kindness in his gaze revealed the man beneath a successful entrepreneur with an inherited legacy, whose wealth was rivaled only by his decency. Evelyn, on the other hand, was radiant, a beacon of warmth and grace. Her voice had the power to make anyone feel at ease, her empathy practically tangible. She was undeniably beautiful, with flowing black hair and an elegance that seemed natural and effortless. Jenny, meanwhile, was a picture of mischief, her round, chubby cheeks flushed pink from all her grinning. She was brimming with playful energy. Beneath her teasing and laughter, though, there was a sweetness that made her hard not to like. Adoria, though simpler in her demeanor, was quietly captivating. Her small, delicate frame carried an air of humility and innocence. Her glittering blue eyes, framed by thick, dark lashes, sparkled whenever she spoke. Her tiny mouth curled into shy smiles, each one a testament to the respect and politeness her mother had instilled in her. Jenny, noticing that Adoria was about to speak, leaned forward eagerly. So what else do you like to do, Adoria? Do you have any fun stories to share? Oh, and by the way, I'm still your elder, she added, bursting into another fit of laughter. Adoria couldn't help but smile bashfully, glancing toward her mother for reassurance. Edith chuckled softly, a faint trace of amusement breaking through her otherwise exhausted features. It seemed for a moment that the bond forming between the two families was growing stronger. Two completely different worlds, crossing paths unexpectedly. What do you think will happen next? Just a favor to ask. Please like. A comment gives me more energy to continue posting. And subscribe. Tell me whatever you think. It's an episode-based story, so tell me what you want to come next.